Hi there guys, in this video we're going to take a look at the Alliance Chieftain. Now I was planning to get this video out a bit ago, however when I was actually getting the stuff ready for the video I read that they were going to change some of the stats in the final release, so I didn't want to post a video on old stuff that was out of date. And then after that there was a few things that happened, and then I wasn't particularly that well, so all that meant that the video got a bit delayed, but unfortunately that's just the case. So anyway, let's have a look at the Alliance Chieftain. This is a new ship that's been added in version 3, which came out a little bit ago. So bear in mind all the prices here have a 10% discount, as this is at Founders World. So let's go and have a look for the ship in the shipyard. Like I said, Founders World has all the ships available, so it makes it a lot easier to show you. So here we are, is the Alliance Chieftain. Now it's priced at 17 million here. Its actual price at most other places will be around about 18.8 million. It has an additional multi-crew seat. It has a top speed of 235 with a boost of 330. It has a jump range just under about 25 light years, I believe, unmodified. It has 122 shields, 504 hull, and a few other bits. I will go into detail what all these are and what you've got. But that gives you an idea of the basics of the ship. Now this time, instead of actually buying the ship like I do in most videos, I'm just going to actually use the one already got, as I already previously bought this ship. So let's go use this one, as I like to show you what the cockpit is like, because I do think that makes a kind of difference to the feel of the ship. If the cockpit's very overbearing, it can make it quite a difficult ship to use. So here you can see we've got a sort of framework around the front, which shouldn't be too restricting. On the left we've got probably a little bit better view there, as we've only got that one bar, and on the top you can see it's pretty clear, and the same on the right hand side. So all in all, the cockpit isn't too bad. It does have a little bit of restrictions, but it shouldn't be too bad. So the next thing to do is to have a look at the outfitting section. So here we can actually have a look where everything is and give you a bit more of an idea. So in the hardpoints we have 2 large hardpoints, or class 3. These are on the top. We have a class 2 which is on the underside, and finally we have 3 class 1. So here it does give you a lot of choice of what you want to fit. In the utility mounts, where we fit the kill warrant scanners, etc., the shield boosters, we can fit 4 of them, so that should give you a bit of a thing. Into the core internals, now the first section is the bulkheads. These are your armour. So here, like I said, you've got the various choices like normal, and they go between 7 million up to about 40, and they are range in weight as well. So this just gives you an idea. Bear in mind, like I said, that's a 10% discount. For the power plant we have a class 6, which should provide us around about 25.2 megawatts. Again, this is unmodified. For thrusters we can go up to class 6, so I'm just going to fit on a class 6 for later on the video. For the frameshift drive we can fit a class 5, and like I said, after modifications and changing some of the subsystems, I reckon you get around about just under 25 light years. After modifications you're probably looking about 35 roughly, so you should get a reasonable jump range with that. With the life support you've got a class 5, in this I'm just going to get a 5D. For the power distributor we have got a class 6, which is a fairly good size for this size ship, and should mean you shouldn't struggle too much with power for your weapons. For sensors we have a class 4. This should be ample enough for your ship really. And finally we have a fuel tank, which is class 4, or has a capacity of 16 units. So next onto the optional internals. So here we have a class 6 slot, we have a class 5, a class 4 slot, 2 class 2s, and finally we have 3 class 4 military hardpoints. These only allow you to fit hull reinforcements, module reinforcements, or sail banks in the last 3. Nevertheless, you will probably find them very useful. So anyway, that's a quick run through of the various things you can fit. I think the next thing to do is to have a look at the external view of the ship. So if we take a look at the external, you can see it does have a little bit of a difference than a lot of the other ships, that being the engines are mounted on the wings. So I don't know if this means the engines are more vulnerable or not. Potentially it should mean that, but technically you've got actually two sets of engines, so whether that's all actually works that way I'm not too sure. Usually you attack the ships on the back and you can get to their engines. The overall design, like I said, it looks very much like a lot of the other ships in the game apart from the engines. It does have a kind of orange streak down the side of it, which obviously probably will change with various paint packs and so forth. Myself, I think the design is okay. I'm not the biggest fan, but that is entirely down to your own preference. Some people are going to like this design and some not. So let's take this ship out for a test flight and see how it performs. So we have a top speed of 266 by the looks of it, with a boost of 380. So all in all, that's not too bad. Bear in mind this is with the 6A thruster but not modified. The ship is pretty slow at accelerating and decelerating. As you can see here, it's quite slow. It's probably one of the slowest ships in this sort of class. So the next thing I want to show you is how quickly the ship turns. Bear in mind this is just a rough idea, it's not anything imprecise because obviously the ships turn at different speeds on different axes. I just want to check and make sure I've got the right thruster on, as I want to show you for the best case scenario. So I have actually got a 6A and it's not been modified by the engineers, so potentially you could get a little bit better. I'm going to do this in the blue sections with 4 pips on the engine. So let's see how quickly it turns. So it looks around about 8 seconds, which is not bad. Bear in mind this is just a very rough test, just to give you an idea of such. So anyway, the next thing to do is to look at all the guns and to show you where they all are. So let's move on to that now. Okay, so the next thing to do is to look at all the guns, and I'll go through where they all are. So we have actually got 6 guns on this ship in various places. So if I just get all the guns up and show you where they all are, you can see them initializing now, and we've got roughly 5 on the top and 1 on the underside of the ship, as you can just about see on the middle section. So if we go and fire them, you can see they've all got pretty good coverage. Bear in mind, like I said, there are slightly different. So let's go through the various guns and have a look. So what we want to do is to turn off all these ones, and let's show you where the class 3s are. So these are the large hardpoints. So these are where the 2 are. As you can see, they're on the top of the ship, one underneath the other. If I just show you on the external, so you've got an idea of where they actually are physically, because sometimes it's difficult to know where they are. You can see, if I can just about line it up, that we have a set of guns at the very top, and we have one a little bit above the cockpit. So you can see here, that's where both of them are. And like I said, we've got one that actually got numbered on at number 2, as you may actually see that. So that is where the 2 large hardpoints are. So next, let's have a look at the medium hardpoint, which is the one on the underside of the ship. So you can see here, it's on the underside. So again, let's show you on the external where that is. So you've got an idea of actually where the weapon is. I might have to actually move this around so you can actually see it a bit better. So I think I can just about line it up. You can see it's on the underside, just underneath the cockpit there. If I can try and turn it around so you got some light. There you go. So you can see it there, which is not in a bad position, although it's, like I said, it's the only one on the underside for some strange reason. And then finally, let's show you where the last 3 hardpoints are, which are the 3 small hardpoints. These are actually on the top again, and they're arranged all 3 together, as you can see. So let's actually show you where those are on the ship. So I might have to move this around a bit to actually show you. So you can see there is a hardpoint between the large one and the cockpit. Now that is where one of the small hardpoints are. The other two are a little bit further back, and you can see they're just left and right of that hardpoint. So those three have got a pretty good place. The only thing is they're only class 1 slots, so that is going to be quite limiting to what you can fit. Anyway, hopefully that's explained where all the gun points are. Sometimes it can be quite confusing to know where they are, and that can make a difference to what weapons you fit where. Bear in mind this is only a tummy build, and it is not one I would necessarily recommend for combat. So anyway, I think that's it for the gun side of things. Let's close it up. So that's a look at the Alliance Chieftain. It's definitely not a bad ship, and it's more geared toward combat. If you were actually to look at this for trading, then you're only going to get about 86 tons with no shield. Obviously this is not potentially that good for a ship costing 18.8 million, as you can get something like a Type 6 which will offer around about 112 tons of space for around about $1 million. So definitely not necessarily particularly good for trading. For exploration, then you could actually potentially use this ship. It will give you around about 38.5 light years, which is definitely usable. However, whether I would use this over some of the other ships out there, I don't know, as they can do exploration a little bit more easier. But it's primarily focused on combat, specifically with lots of hard points, a class 6 power distributor, and those internal optional military hard points will just boost the ship up a bit more. Overall, like I said, it's not going to beat some of the big ships out there. Obviously things like the Anaconda and the Federal Corvette are going to offer a lot more combat capacity. However, you kind of expect that because those ships are much more expensive. Anyway guys, if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them below. Somebody else might have the same questions out there, so that might help them out also. So if you did like the video, please drop a like. Another thing that does help me massively, if you haven't already done so, is to subscribe to the channel. Anyway guys, I think that's it for this one. Hopefully the next video won't be so far in the future. Take care and have fun out there.